This podcast contains content related to child exploitation and criminal investigations. Listener discretion is strongly advised. The views expressed are those of the host and do not represent any official agency. All individuals discussed are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. The man sitting across from me was someone people trusted. Someone parents trusted. He was a high school soccer coach, the kind of adult who drove kids to games, shook hands with parents after practice, and smiled for team photos. But when he went home, he logged into Paltalk, a chat platform most parents may have never heard of. There, he looked for children, not on a field, not to recruit on a soccer team, to recruit for a different kind of activity. What he didn't know was that one of the profiles he was talking to wasn't a child. Fortunately for us, it was me. When we arrested him, I thought the danger was over. But later we discovered something much worse. While he was talking to undercover profiles and potentially other juveniles online, he was also harming a child in his own home. This is Paltalk, and this is how predators use anonymous chat rooms to find kids. And this is why you need to know about it. I'm investigator Sean Lacy, and this is Chasing Shadows. In our last episode, we looked at Sam Smith, a convicted sex offender who traveled across state lines after grooming two supposed teenagers online. And where did that case start? On a place called Paltalk. Now, Paltalk's been around for decades, but most people, including parents, don't even know it exists. To predators, though, it's very familiar ground. With open chat rooms, anonymous profiles, and very little oversight, it's a space where offenders can hide in plain sight. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into Paltalk. I'll recover some of the case of Sam Smith, but introduce you to a soccer coach and explain how platforms like this work, why they're attractive to predators, and most importantly, what us as parents need to know to protect our children. As we covered in the last episode, that offender's name was Sam Smith. He was a convicted sex offender who drove across state lines after communicating with who he thought was two 14-year-old girls. The chats that I participated in set a crime in motion that didn't happen on apps that we may know the name of. It didn't happen on Snapchat. It didn't happen on Instagram. It happened on Paltalk. And when Smith entered those chat rooms, he wasn't stumbling around. He went directly to where he thought kids might be. He tested the persona I was running, which happened to be two teenage girls, and quickly shifted into grooming behavior. Paltalk gave him the access. It gave him the privacy. And it gave him an overwhelming sense of invisibility. And for him, that was enough for him to act. That was enough for him to travel. That case luckily ended up with Sam Smith behind bars, but it's far from the only one. Because predators don't limit themselves to one platform, and Paltalk in particular kept coming up again and again in my work. The second case I want to walk you through is still one that stands out in my career because of the double life that this offender was living. He wasn't some shadowy figure hiding in a basement. He was a high school soccer coach in Pennsylvania. He was a husband. He was a stepfather. He was a man who wore the title of mentor in his community. Parents handed their kids over to him for practices, for games, for mentorship, for leadership. To the outside world, he was trusted, respected, the kind of adult that you wouldn't think twice about. Oh, that's just Coach. But behind a computer screen, he was someone entirely different. He found my undercover profile, one that clearly stated that I was a 14-year-old girl who liked softball. And he reached out. Like all of these conversations started, it started with just small talk. How's school? What do you like to do for fun? But it didn't take long before the conversation shifted. And once it shifted, it didn't stop. Over the course of several weeks, his messages became increasingly graphic. He began to expose himself on camera during our video chats. Not once, not twice, but 6 separate times. He was convinced that he was interacting with a child. And what's important for parents to understand is that he wasn't dabbling. He was persistent. He was consistent. He was grooming. At the same time, he was building towards something bigger. Like Sam Smith, he made plans multiple times to travel from Pennsylvania down to Virginia to meet in person. But every time when the day came close, he found a way to back out. He had a work obligation, a family excuse. He always came up with some reason why he couldn't just make the drive. And here's what I learned. Excuses like that don't mean the threat isn't real. Quite the opposite. The act of planning shows intent. It shows someone is balancing 2 lives. The respectable public life and the predatory hidden one. And they're trying to decide how far they can push it before their worlds collide and their home life unravels. Eventually, we coordinated with the Pennsylvania State Police to take our soccer coach in custody. Because the case originated in Virginia, he was extradited back here to stand trial. I had the pleasure of driving up, getting him, and driving back. In the courtroom, the evidence was overwhelming. Like many of our targets of this nature, he pled guilty and accepted a plea deal that sentenced him to 15 years of active prison time. For many cases, that would be the end of the story. But this case wasn't over. On the very day of his sentencing, on the very day that the judge handed down 15 years, his stepdaughter, who was also a member of the soccer team that he coached, came forward. For the first time, she disclosed that she had been abused by him in their own home. Think about that for a moment. While he was online, exposing himself to someone that he thought was a child, while he was making plans to drive across state lines to victimize that kid, he was already harming a child who lived under his own roof. That disclosure reshaped the case in an instant. And it reshaped me too. Because it drove home something that is so important for parents to hear. These offenders don't just live in a fantasy world. They aren't only typing messages in some faraway chat room. Many are already offending in their own communities. Some are already harming the kids closest to them, the ones that they were trusted to protect. The soccer coach case also reminded me that the internet isn't just a place where predators fantasize. It's where they look for more victims to add to the ones that they already have. They're just increasing their collection of abused children. And for me, that's why cases like this aren't just about stopping a chat. They're about stopping a cycle of abuse and bringing it to light so it doesn't have to be a secret anymore. Now, let's take a step back from the cases a minute and talk about where these offenses occurred. Let's talk about Paltalk itself. Because the cases of Sam Smith and the soccer coach don't make sense unless you understand the environment that they were operating in. Most parents I talked to never even heard of Paltalk. And honestly, that's part of what makes it so dangerous. If you don't know that the platform exists, you can't watch for it. You don't know what to look out for. But predators know. And they've known for a long time. Paltalk was founded back in the late 1990s, around the same time that AOL chatrooms and Yahoo messengers were at their peak. While those platforms gave way to the apps we know today, Paltalk never really disappeared. It evolved. It found a niche. And it stayed under the radar. So, how does it work? Well, you can use your phone or computer to download the app or the website. Just log in. You create a username. That's it. No ID. No real verification. Nothing tying the account to who you actually are. And once you're in, you can join public chat rooms on almost any topic imaginable. Sports, music, hobbies. But just like in the early days of the internet, hidden inside those spaces are people with much darker intentions. And then there are the private chats. That's where things really become risky. In seconds, someone can move a conversation from a crowded room into a one-on-one exchange, away from any eyes that might catch what's going on. Paltalk also supports voice and video. And that changes the game completely, because now it's not just text on a screen. It's live interaction. And for offenders, that means they can push boundaries faster. They can test how far someone is willing to go. And if they believe that they're talking to a child, they can escalate in ways that text alone doesn't allow. From a predator's point of view, Paltalk offers three things. The first is anonymity. It allows you to be anyone you want, and no one can check. Secondly, it allows access. There are thousands of rooms, thousands of people, and endless opportunities. And third, it allows opportunity. It creates a direct line to whoever is willing to respond. That, combined with the video and voice chat, is an incredibly powerful and dangerous combination. For parents, the critical thing to understand is this: if Paltalk is on your child's device, it's a red flag. Kids aren't downloading Paltalk for harmless fun. The app's user base is overwhelmingly adult, and it has really no meaningful safeguards to keep minors out. In some cases, kids stumble onto apps like this by curiosity. They may hear about it from a friend or see a link, and they just check it out. In other cases, it's them wanting to seem older, to surround themselves with an older crowd. Teenagers sometimes gravitate towards apps and platforms that make them feel more adult than the platforms that their peers are using. And sometimes it's just as simple as following a link in a message or one that they clicked on from another site. However they get there, once they're in, they're exposed to strangers almost immediately. And the predators that hunt there, they know that. They pick these spots because they're target-rich environments. They know how to spot the younger voices in a room. They know the questions to ask. And they know how to move those kids into private spaces or on other apps where grooming begins. And that's why Paltalk and apps like it are important to talk about. Not because it's the most popular app out there. It's not. But because it's a perfect example of the kind of chat room environment the predators thrive in. And here's the bigger lesson. It's not just Paltalk. It's any app that offers the same formula. Public rooms, private chats, anonymity, and video. That formula shows up again and again, and we will cover it as we move forward into other apps. Sometimes it's Discord servers. Sometimes it's Omegle back when it existed. Sometimes it's anonymous messaging apps you've never heard of. The names change, but the dangers don't. What law enforcement sees time and time again is the same cycle. A predator lurks in a public room and looks for someone who seems younger, more vulnerable. They strike up a conversation that seems harmless. They push for a private chat. And then once in that private chat, they start testing the boundaries. They start building that trust, and they escalate. That's exactly what happened with both Sam Smith and the soccer coach. Different offenders, same playbook. For parents, here's what matters. Don't just memorize the names of risky apps. Instead, learn how to recognize the patterns. If you see an app, create an account. And if an app allows anonymous usernames, public to private chats, and video streaming, then it carries the same risks, no matter what the logo looks like. And that's the kind of awareness that can protect your kids, no matter what platform predators move to next. So what does that mean for you as a parent? Let's keep it simple. Step 1, know what's on the device. Look for apps that you don't recognize. If you see Paltalk, that's a red flag. But don't stop there. Any anonymous chat app carries risk. If you don't recognize it, download it. Create an account. See what it's all about. Step 2, watch for secrecy. Privacy is normal. Secrecy is not. If your child is minimizing screens, deleting messages, or getting defensive when you ask who they're talking to, I would take that seriously. Step 3, have the conversation. Prevention starts early. Teach your kids that they should never move from a public chat to a private one with someone that they don't know. Educate them to never share personal details and always come to you if something feels wrong. Step 4, report it. If you suspect grooming, don't confront the offender yourself. Save the evidence and report it to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's cyber tip line, or call your local law enforcement. Step 5, stay current. Apps come and go, but the risks stay the same. Don't just memorize the names, learn the patterns, learn the apps. Because Paltalk may not be a household name, but to predators, it's very familiar territory. It's where offenders like Sam Smith and the soccer coach went looking for kids. It's where offenders currently are looking for kids. It's where anonymity and access creates the perfect storm for grooming. For parents, the lesson is clear. Know the apps. Watch for secrecy. Have the conversations to keep that door open. Because predators count on silence. Silence is what gives them their power. In our next episode of Chasing Shadows, we're moving from old school chat rooms to the platforms your kids are probably on today. We're going to talk about Roblox. We may talk a little bit about Discord. We'll explore how predators use these spaces to build trust and what makes these apps uniquely risky, and how you can prepare your kids to navigate them safely. I'm Investigator Sean Lacy, and this has been Chasing Shadows. Thank you for listening, and thank you for standing with me in this fight.